The industry is having a rocky patch, with competitor Argo AI shutting down after Volkswagen and Ford walked away from backing that deal. Is it the first crack in a bigger fissure in self-driving technology? Aurora's co-founder and CEO Chris Urmson is with us now. So Chris, what do you think? Is it?
Yeah, I think it's just normal, right? What we're seeing right now is what happens in any industry. That if you look at the automotive industry at the beginning of the 20th century, there was 250 car companies. By the 1930s, there was 3. And so we've seen a lot of companies kind of spring up, explore this space, and some of them are going to succeed, some of them aren't. At Aurora, we've positioned ourselves to be independent, to have the capital we need, the people and the technology. And so, I'm actually more optimistic than ever before about the space and where we're going.
Well, as you say, risk is normal. But if you look at what happened with Argo shutting down, big investors or potential investors pulling out, is that a risk Aurora faces?
No, in fact, it's part of our strategic advantage, right? From day one, we wanted to be an independent company because we knew we wanted to be able to focus on the thing that mattered, on delivering on our mission, getting self-driving technology into the market. When Jim Farley talked about shutting down their investment in Argo, he literally said, we want to place our bet somewhere else, right? So we don't want to be another bet. We want to be the bet. And I think if you look at our investor base, these are folks who get the opportunity, understand the quality of the team, and are excited about the journey we're on.
Chris, it's good to see you virtually, at least. You just said that what we're seeing in the industry is normal, but what VW and Ford were saying is that actually we're pulling out because this is a much more distant technology than we thought. It's too far away right now. What are you doing to ensure stability for yourselves in terms of raising money? Are you going to plan headcount reduction to kind of preserve cash? Because you guys still have a little way to go as well.
Yeah, so I've been in the space for 20 years-ish, so kind of understand how hard the problem is. And again, we engineered the company from day one to solve these important problems, realizing we were climbing a mountain. So as a company, we have amazing partners. We work with, as you've got on the screen here, Volvo trucks. We work with PACCAR, 2 of the top 3 truck manufacturers. We work with Toyota, the world's #1 car manufacturer. Uber, the world's #1 ride-hailing platform. FedEx, Schneider, Werner, some of these amazing trucking companies. So we feel like we're spring-loaded on that front to go to market. So, yep, we raised a lot of capital last year. We're in a very strong position with $1.2 billion on the balance sheet at the end of the quarter. So we're really excited about the path forward here.
Is it possible that Apple or Microsoft buys your company, Chris?
We have, so I think you're alluding to a memo that leaked that I drafted for a conversation with our board. And so I don't know whether it's possible or not. We're not going to comment on those kind of things, but I think for any company in the existing market conditions, you need to be exploring the span of options from, as you said, headcount reduction, acquiring companies using, like they talk about a crisis being the worst thing to waste, through focus. And as a company, that's what we've taken, right? Is the path, okay, we're going to focus on getting the trucking product to market. We're going to be more efficient where we can be with the capital we have on hand. And we're just going to execute through this. And we have the capital to do that. And we have the team and technology to make it happen.
Chris, when you and I last saw each other, we were in Texas riding around in self-driving semi-trucks. Do you remember that? But your original ambitions for Aurora were broader than that. It seems like very much the focus is on the use case of trucking, delivery, haulage. Have you had talks with some of the big players in that space, like Amazon, like Walmart?
So we are still building a platform that will drive all kinds of vehicles. The right first place for us to deploy the technology is in trucking. We see the opportunity, the market need is there, the economics are there, the market scale is there, right? It is just the right place to deploy this first. But we have those partnerships with Toyota and Uber that spring-load is when we get to ride-hailing, which will be our second product in the space we expect to be, to go charge into that. And yes, we have amazing partnerships, right? FedEx is the largest carrier of less than truckload loads in the U.S. And it's also the most tractors and trailers of anyone in the U.S. So we're working with some amazing folks today.
Talk to us about the longer term, beyond trucking. Where could this technology go, and how long is it really going to take? Because, much of our coverage recently has been, we've been talking about this. You said you've been in this industry for 20-ish
Yeah.
years, but it still hasn't fully come to fruition.
Well, we're at this point. So one of the challenges with our technology is we get to develop it like out in the public because we're on the roads and people see it. So I think you get to see a little bit more behind the curtain of what it takes to actually develop a game-changing or world-changing technology. I think it's really exciting to see some of our competitors have vehicles on the road with no drivers in places like in Arizona and in San Francisco. We're on the road every day with our trucks hauling loads for our customers. And so that's exciting. And we're looking forward to the next few years. And we've been a leader in transparency. We've shared our roadmap from here to the launching the product with an operator. And we want to continue to do that to build trust through what I think of as the current valley of disillusionment.
So can you give me a number? How long until long-haul trucking is truly driverless?
Yeah, so we've shared a roadmap for us. At the end of Q1, we're working towards having the Aurora driver be feature complete, which means it does everything it needs to be able to drive, just not yet well enough. By the end of next year, we're working towards having the Aurora driver be ready, so that if we had a truck platform that had was autonomy enabled, we'd be able to pull the operators out of those trucks and have them operate without anybody on board. And we expect to actually launch in the following year in 24.
Hang on, we're actually getting some breaking news across the Bloomberg from our own Mark Urman about Apple's hiring plan. Apple pausing hiring for roles outside of research and development. I had talked to Tim Cook earlier this year, and he said they were going to be deliberate in terms of how they cut or where they spend and where they grow. But this is apparently an escalation from earlier budget cuts and a signal of a hiring slowdown. Again, Apple pausing hiring for many jobs outside of R&D. Chris, look, I know Ed asked earlier about the difficulty of the environment, but have you thought about cost cuts? Have you thought about layoffs? It seems like everyone is thinking about it, but everyone's strategy is different. For example, Brian Chesky told us yesterday, to use a car analogy, he said, we're actually stepping on the gas, not stepping on the brakes.
Yeah, for us, we continue to focus on being efficient with the capital we have. That'll push us. The capital we have on hand pushes into mid 2024. We've looked at where can we be doing things sequentially rather than in parallel, and that's one of the reasons why we're focusing so much on trucking. We're not doing cars, but we're going to kind of have that more streamlined off the back of what we do in trucks. We've looked at through the organization, how can we restructure things to be more efficient? We've made changes to the way people report. We've looked for duplications and simplified those and moved people in different parts of the organizations. And we've looked at, what are the things we need versus what are the things we want? And we're just getting the things we need. So we're being thoughtful. We're extending the runway where we can, but the opportunity is so exciting. The position we're in is so amazing that we just need to charge through this, drive through it.
Chris, will you hire any of those laid off from Argo AI? And give me your big picture take on consolidation in this industry.
Yeah, so absolutely, right? We're always looking for great people. We're hiring people today. We've got a bunch of jobs open. If you're interested, please apply. And we're certainly reaching out to some of the Argo folks. Consolidation is happening. I've said this for years. I've said that like when we started the company, let's make sure Aurora is set up so that it can be a consolidator rather than a consolidatee. And it's why we've taken the independent path we have. It's why we've been efficient building the company, why we've raised the capital we have at the times we have. And so, yes, I expect that at the end of the day, there's going to be at most a handful of companies that kind of cross the chasm and deliver a product in that. And we're positioning Aurora to be one of those.